We'll be chatting to the SAPS in just a short while, but let's return you to the capital because the focus is all on Tshwane because Mayor Nasiphi Moya is set to deliver her State of the Capital address in less than 3 hours' time. Arabile Gumede is out on the ground and he certainly is getting a sense of what people who call Tshwane home have to say. And one of the representatives from the civic organization actually saying that he feels with the coalition government that these parties are working against residents. Arabile?
Yeah, you're so right, Valen, and it was a stark reminder of kind of what you see on the ground, what is reported, and perhaps what political parties begin to say, right? And that's why it's great to kind of get the perspectives beforehand of the full twist of conversations and what exactly is being said. We are outside Tshwane House, which of course does house the Executive Mayor Nasiphi Moya, as well as many other aspects of the city of Tshwane's metropolitan here. So how exactly are things faring? What do the other political parties actually believe is being done right or not being done right? Let's speak to the Freedom Front Plus's caucus leader in the city of Tshwane, Mr. Grandi Theunissen, who joins us now. Mr. Theunissen, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Are things as you would perhaps want them in the city of Tshwane? And I say that just off the basis of there's been so much said about Executive Mayor Nasiphi Moya's work, but the rest of the mayoral committee as well.
Yes, good morning, Arabile. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. You know, there's three things that I think we need in the city. And it's, first of all, it's to be realistic. Secondly, to be transparent. And thirdly, to keep people accountable. And based on those three things, I don't see the current administration adhering to those three points.
Okay, let's talk about that in specific. Let's go into being realistic. Is the realism based off of the fact that services won't be delivered as soon as possible? Because that's what residents want. They want their water. They pay for their water or their electricity or their sewage being cleaned up. And yet in many places that's not happening. Crime out of areas such as Atteridgeville and the like too.
Yes, well, let's just start by the proposed budget that's being tabled. You know, it's being tabled on a basis of 90% collection rate.
Yes.
Whereas in February, the Auditor General actually found that we are only at an 83.5% rate. So it's not realistic to think that we can recover 90% of the income. And then over and above that, we've got an average of about 7% increase that's been envisaged on that. So that makes it even more difficult for the public to actually come by and be able to contribute that amount. So taking that into account, first of all, it would then imply that the current so-called funded budget cannot be funded. It will be at a loss, if I make the calculations, of more or less 1 billion rand. So you can't call it a funded budget, and that's not being realistic when you are doing that. So taking that into consideration, that's the first thing that I can speak on.
And the second note as well that you made note of, I now forget, you said realistic?
Transparent.
Transparent. Okay,
yes.
So is that also on the basis of the books? Because a little bit earlier we were speaking to one member from the Civic Association for Lotus Garden, Salisbury and Atteridgeville, and he was saying that, for example, the debt book is actually incorrect in the manner it currently is used, and they're doing this budget based off of the wrong debt book already.
Yes, let's start there. Just about a month ago, we as City had to write off quite a substantial amount. I think it was 15.7 or 17 million rand write-off for 19 properties in the Roslyn area.
Yeah.
And we did not have clarity on why we had to write that off, other than it is now money that we cannot collect. There's not enough transparency in the reporting system. So that makes it quite difficult, yes. And also the point on the debtors book. You know, about 60%, I think it's roughly about 30 billion rand, is in arrears. And a lot of that is due to improper accounting principles. And why am I saying that? You know, we had the case with the refuse removal, forced refuse removal grant that had to be paid.
Yes.
And even until now, there are people battling to have that fixed. So there's a lot of this type of stuff that's happening that's not clear to the public. It's not being addressed towards the public why things are happening the way they are.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the last one, it's accountability, of course, as you made note of. And one would say, well, you saw the suspension of Grandi Theunissen yesterday, and he's set to appear before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry tomorrow. That might be a little bit of accountability, some might think.
Well, that doesn't leave the city with any choice, because the MFMA and legislation is quite clear on that. Whenever there is justifiable reason to even suspect that there could be irregularities or fraud, it must be investigated. It says that, legislation says that the city manager must report it to the speaker, and the speaker must have a council meeting, and a decision should be taken. So what's happened to Grandi Theunissen is it's precautionary, because we also need to still look at the law when it says a person is not guilty until proved guilty.
Yeah.
So he's just on a precautionary basis put on suspension, and the legislation prescribes that.
Yeah.
There's many other instances of accountability. Now let's look just at the political side of it. The mayor herself, you know, some time ago it was exposed she had a 10,000 rand paid to her for a trip that she never undertook. And only when it was exposed did she pay that back. And then more recently, there was a 270,000 rand salary increase that was not justified, that she should not have received, and there was a council resolution that those officials, this was when she was an official, had to pay it back. Only once again, after being exposed, did she say, I'm willing to pay that back.
Sure.
But there's no consequences. Then also, let's talk about the deputy mayor. He's been linked in the Madlanga Commission and all over other places as well as being involved in tenders. You know, if we just look at the water tanker tender, it raised from 140 million rand in our term as administration to almost 780 million rand. So, and then his name is linked to some of those guys. Then the other one is obviously the matter that's known to everybody on the security tenders.
Yes.
So I don't have to elaborate on that, but all of that shows that there's no accountability or very little accountability. There are multiple. When I was still part of the MACO, we had a we had a consequence management committee, and we actually had 33 cases of forensic audits that implicated about 30 officials. I don't know what's happened to that since then. Even on this current month, on the impact side, there's 40 items on their agenda. Most of that is based on irregularities and steps that must be taken.
I guess it's all the questions actually that the executive mayor needs to answer for.
Exactly.
Right. Very, very important. Grandi, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. Grandi Theunissen is the Freedom Front Plus's caucus leader in the city of Tshwane.